Hello and welcome to the Money Compass.
In each episode, we will be preparing you for your journey through the world of finance and helping you tick off the destinations on your financial itinerary.
Pack your bags and prepare for takeoff as you navigate your way to financial success.
Morning, Emma. How are you today?
I'm very well, a little bit tired, not going to lie. It's a bit early for me still.
Yeah, I know. These 7 a.m. podcast recordings are going to start taking it out of you.
I hate to say it, it's nearly 7:45. We've been drinking tea for so long that time's passed that quick.
Oops, it must be you're such good company.
It must be, definitely. So it's February.
I know. Tell me about it.
What's good about February in your eyes then, Julie?
Well, you see, it's my birthday in February, but when I was little, obviously as we're a money podcast, it's got to have a money-related story here. I always used to get dumped in February.
When you were little?
Well, you know, I say little, high school, that kind of thing.
So why did you always get dumped in February?
Because February is a really expensive month.
Ah.
You know, it's my birthday on the 10th, it's Valentine's Day on the 14th, and it was almost like, oh, hang about, do I want this commitment or do I want to make a financial commitment to this relationship?
It is a big commitment, a birthday and Valentine's.
Within 4 days of each
yeah.
other, yeah, no, this is it. So then I'd get dumped. Sometimes I got asked back out again at the start of March.
Oh, yeah,
So-
I hope you didn't go back with them.
No, I'm not sure at the time, but, you know, definitely I wouldn't do that now.
Lesson learned, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. At least Ralph doesn't ask for a divorce every February.
Be a bit excessive if he did.
It would be, definitely. So I think my favourite day in February, which actually isn't in February this year, is Pancake Day.
How is it not in February?
I don't know. Somehow, I think it's all to do. Easter's quite late this year, isn't it? I think it's in
Yeah.
April, so it's kind of like all the dates move and they're all connected. And I do know how they're connected, but we're not going to go into that in too much detail. But yeah, Shrove Tuesday is actually the 1st of March. So definitely pancakes in the office.
What's your favourite pancake topping though?
Oh, well, you see, I'd always say sugar and lemon. However, when we're in Rhodes, I always have like this orange one with cinnamon.
Ooh,
And that is amazing.
that does sound very good.
So yeah, I think that when we go to Rhodes later in the year, then I think that it will definitely have to be, that will have
Orange
to be
and
something.
cinnamon.
Yeah, this is it. I think there's not very many places to sit, and there's quite a few of us going. But anyway, I'm sure we'll be able to. I'm already thinking of the logistics of an event at the end of September. So.
One step ahead already.
I know. Anyway, moving on. Today we're going to be talking about relationships and money, which kind of follows on quite nicely from Money Mindset from the other week. And we're not just talking about your relationship with money, but also how your relationships with other people are impacted by your money mindsets and money decisions that you have. So Emma, I know that you've had an interesting relationship in the past, which had quite a big impact caused by money. Do you want to just kind of give me a little bit of lowdown on that?
Yes, I can. So I was in a relationship with someone who was very much the kind of person that as soon as they had money in their pocket, it started to burn a hole. It needed to be spent. There was always something that needed to be bought, whether it be some clothes, something for his motorbike, or whatever it may be. There was always a need to buy something, and it couldn't just sit in a bank account and build up nicely, ready to buy something bigger. It always had to be basically spent. As soon as it was accounted for, it was gone. And I always found that quite difficult because from a very young age, I've saved everything and squirreled it away and put it out of the way and never spent any of it. And I remember one significant time that I really felt uncomfortable was, I don't even know why, we suddenly said, let's go look at cars. And I thought, well, I don't really need a new car, but let's go look at cars. So we went and looked at cars, and then I actually did kind of fall in love with the car that I saw. So I was like, okay, let's buy it. But then it wasn't a case of, well, I've got this money, you've got this money. It was a case of, well, what money have you got? And at the time, the biggest sum of money I had was some money that my nanny had given me when she passed away. So some inheritance that I'd put in this separate account, and I'd always kept it separate. She told me to go travelling and do whatever I wanted to do with this money. But that was the only money I then had to buy this car. And I felt really awkward about, well, I'm going to have to use that. Do I want to use that for a car? Don't I want to use that for a car? What should I do? And I did it. And don't get me wrong, I've still got the car and I still really like my car. So it was obviously well worth it. But in my eyes, I still think of, well, did I spend that money on what she wanted me to spend it on? So it's just a bit of a tricky, we had very different views about how money should be used and what it should be spent on and how quickly it should be spent, I guess. And it does eventually get to you and you think, I tried to change my ways and I couldn't do it because to me, my money kind of mindset and my relationship with money was the right way and his was the wrong way. And I'm not saying that it is the right or wrong way, but you get very kind of stuck in your way, and it's difficult for someone to kind of change who you are and what you are with money. So yeah, money has had a very interesting impact on that relationship, I think.
So obviously you were a lot younger then, Emma. Not that you're an old maid now, but you were much younger. So looking back now, knowing more what you know about money mindset and things, do you think that a saver and a spender can live together in harmony?
I think they can, but I think I would, if it was me in that situation again, I would treat it very differently. At the time, being quite young in a kind of first relationship, I thought, yeah, let's have all of our accounts as joint accounts. And so all of our money was joint. So I had a lot less control over it because, yes, my money went into there and his money went into there, but he could spend it at a much quicker rate than I could. So
and then it gets into a bit of a contest then, doesn't it?
Yeah, so in my eyes, if I were in that situation again, I would definitely have a joint account for joint bills and things to come out of, but then I would want to have a separate account for kind of our own money. So yeah, if you want to spend all of your money on whatever you want to spend it on, that's absolutely fine. If I want to save my money, that's absolutely fine. But you've got to come to a compromise when it comes to something that you're saving for together, maybe a house or a holiday, that because I've been saving my money, it doesn't mean that I'm going to spend it and buy things for you because you haven't been able to. So it's just a case of thinking about how that relationship is going to work if you do keep money separate. So
yeah, I have to say that when Ralph and I didn't have a joint bank account until we actually got married.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only reason we had a joint bank account then was because we had people gave us checks to Mr. and Mrs. Hunt. And we were like, oh, what are we going to do with these? We have nowhere to put them. We do not have a joint account.
People think it's nice giving checks at weddings in joint names. And it's like, no, that's just a difficult thing. Because then I also have to change my name really quickly on my bank account.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually, it was quite a traumatic story. It was with, I bank with First Direct, who I have to say have always been absolutely fantastic and amazing, apart from this one incident. And obviously, First Direct, if you ever tried to join them, they've got really, really strict rules on who's allowed in. Obviously, I've had my account for years, so they would let anyone in back then. But nowadays, they're really, really strict, and they were strict back when we got married. So when I asked if we could have a joint account, bear in mind we both had single accounts with them, they actually turned us down.
Wow.
So, and I was quite upset by this, as you can imagine. I believe it was a bit of a rant involving burnt out cars and things like that, where I was like, how dare you not give me a bank account? And I woke up in the middle of the night at about 2:00 in the morning and realised I had a savings account, which I never used. And so I just rung them up at 2:00 in the morning, because the one good thing about First Direct is they answer the phone 24 hours
Any
a day.
time of day, yeah.
And I went, can I add my husband to this account? And they went, yes, of course you can.
Wow.
Yep.
That's one way around it.
Well, this is it. So I found my way around it. So at about 2:00 in the morning. So, but yes, it was a bit of an interesting experience. But no, I think saving and spending, yes, definitely having a different system in place. And also, I think the big thing about anything to do with a relationship is to be able to communicate.
Definitely.
And I think when you're younger as well, especially when you've got a partner who's a lot older, which I know was in your case, it can be quite difficult to put across your point of view.
Yeah, and I think as well, you sometimes think, well, they must have done this before, they know what they're doing. So you put your trust into someone that
more experience. And I think also this happens as well, a lot of people who aren't as confident with money. We see a lot of people, I know certainly in the olden days, I say the olden days, we have a lot of older clients so we go and see, and a lot of the time we'll go out to see them and it'll be a case of, the wife will bake the cakes and bring the cups of tea through, and then she'll go back to the kitchen probably to bake more cakes. And
do the ironing or
crosswords, I'm not sure what they get up to in the kitchen, and it'll be the man who sits there, the husband who sits there and has a conversation.
I must admit, I always find that very uncomfortable. I'm like, well, is she not going to come sit with us? Like, but it's just a very traditional.
Yeah. And I think that tradition has changed a lot, definitely. I mean, I don't think we're still in that kind of thing. To me, it worries me because if anything ever happens to the husband, the wife is going to be completely lost because she'll have absolutely no idea what's actually going on with any of the finances.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think we see that a lot. So I think that's important. And even now I see women like my age, your age, who are like, oh no, my partner deals with all that. I don't get involved. And we hear the stories of like people getting divorced and it's like, well, what do we do now? And certainly I know we've seen that with our clients where we've had people come to us and say, can you look after my sister? She's got divorced. She's never managed the money. Her husband has always done it, and now she's suddenly got an income. Well, she was working, so was bringing money into the family home. As now, like, well, how does she survive on this? And over the years, I think we've seen more than one of those kind of cases.
Definitely, it's scary, isn't it, that you can be so kind of reliant and vulnerable because you have always just trusted someone else to do it for you. So it's just a case of being accountable and kind of taking responsibility of money and knowing what to do with it.
This is it. So, and certainly empowering, yourself really, as a female to understand the finances, and also the other way around. I mean, let's just not just say it's just females in those situations. It's not as often we see it being that the man has no idea and the woman runs the nest, but it does happen. We have seen cases like that as well.
I'll be honest, that's my mum and dad.
Oh,
my dad
okay.
just comes in and says, have you got a card? I need to pay for this. He doesn't even keep a card in his wallet or anything. He literally has nothing. He just...
Your dad's the queen.
I think so. He must be. But he or if you go online to buy something, it's only recently that he's learned how to use PayPal or put in card details or anything. He'd always just hand over the laptop or the iPad to my mum and say, can you pay for this for me? Because she's the one that kind of has always looked after the accounts and everything. He earns the money, and she basically manages it and looks after it for them. So,
and luckily, she's not a big spender.
That's very true. I do try and make her spend it sometimes, but I can't do it.
Otherwise, your dad would have to be working twice as hard than what he actually is.
That's very true.
No, definitely. So I think one of the things we talked about before is that your money mindset is kind of set from the age of 7. So you're very much influenced by the people you grow up around. So your parents and other people like that. So from the other side of the coin, we're in a relationship, you've got people, and we're talking about different people and different mindsets, spenders and savers. What happens if you manage to have that relationship and communicate and live together in harmony when you decide to have children?
Yeah, that can have a massive impact, can't it? And I think you've got to then think about what you're doing and what you're then going to pass on to your own children. Is that what you want them to believe and how for them to manage their money moving forwards? Or do you need to do something to change your ways to make sure that you maybe have more of a positive impact on their life?
Yeah, and I've certainly seen in cases where people have changed their own money mindset when they've had children, because they're aware that they don't want their children to have the lives that they've had. They don't want their children to be spending money all the time and living hand to mouth, and the money comes in, it goes straight back out the door again. There's no savings. They haven't ever bought a house. They basically struggle all the whole time, and they have children. I'm like, well, I don't want my children to have that kind of mindset. So it does sometimes, the arrival of children can be a positive thing on your personal money mindset. But
even if they do cost a fortune.
I know they are expensive. Look, but it's also a case of what you're going to do if you've got different mindsets. So I mean, I have a friend, and the mum is a spender, the dad is a saver, and the child will go to one who'll say no. That'll be the saver. And then we'll then basically go to the spender, and they'll say yes. So you've then got very conflicting messages when you're bringing up children.
And the children, as they get older, I think they know that they can play you off against one another to almost get what they want.
Yeah, dad is going to say no, but mum will definitely say yes.
Yeah.
So, and then also that causes conflict in your relationship. So it's like a relationship, another money element to your relationship that you haven't ever considered.
And there's extra stress added to the relationship, definitely.
And what obviously, if you want your child to go to like private education or to pay for university, and you want to have that money saved up for them, whereas the other person is burning through it like a fast rate of knots. Yeah,
there's got to be a balance though, hasn't there, between living for today and living for the future.
Oh no, I completely agree with that. And I think that's when we talk about planning and things for the future. It's like, having a plan is great, and it's putting all your money, literally having no life while you then save for something, you still got to enjoy yourself as well. And it might take an extra year to get to a target or the goal you're aiming for, but it's got to be a realistic target, a realistic goal, and a realistic plan.
Most definitely. So not only are children a big stress on relationships and things, but debts can be a big thing as well.
Yes.
So I've got an interesting story about somebody that I know here. They got married. So I'd known one of these people for quite a long time, and he had been bankrupt in the past. And he still wasn't very good with money, even to the point that at one point he'd asked me to look after a credit card for him just so he didn't spend money on it. He wanted to have it there for an emergency, supposedly, but didn't want to have it too easy access because he knew that he wasn't the greatest with money. So he met someone else who was very good with money. She saved all the time and they got married. Happily ever after, you would think. And unfortunately not, because it then turned out after they got married that, yes, he'd given me some credit cards to look after and he'd given her some credit cards to look after. But there were multiple other credit cards that he hadn't given to anyone to look after. And I think it's very sad that some companies take advantage a little bit that if you use a credit card, they then increase your credit limit. And I think he saw that as a goal of, oh, I need to spend more money. And he racked up more and more debts and she knew nothing about it. So unfortunately, that one did end in a divorce because how can you believe that when you get married that you're trusting each other, but that's such a big secret that puts such a stress on that relationship because he didn't have the control over kind of his money.
Yeah, no, that's really sad. And there's lots and lots of stories. I mean, I know somebody who found out on her wedding night that her husband, who she just married, had actually forged her signature on loans.
Wow.
And was actually in more debt. And to be fair, they actually are still married. But I'm not sure if I think an annulment might have happened there. So that must be real true love. And again, they're always in debt, never in a situation where they've ever got any money. So live the high life, nice car, nice jewelry, nice holidays, but, always in debt, no plan for the future.
I think as well that debt, the way we're talking about it always ends, well, not your story but saying it kind of ended in divorce and things like that. But I don't think it has to. I think people can kind of change their ways, but it's just a case of understanding why you do that and the reasons behind it. Your own relationship with money can be changed to help your relationship with another person. So
this is it. And I think probably the most important key out of all of this is to be able to communicate with a person.
100%.
And keep your money separate.
Yes.
Because, you can always have a joint account where you put your money for your bills if you've got a big financial commitment together. But actually keeping your money separate, if you've got a spender and a saver together, you're never going to be able to, you're not going to ever feel like Emma felt, that, I can't spend it as fast as that person can spend it, because then it's kind of like a bit of a vicious circle because it's your money too. And you're finally realizing that,
everything that you're working so hard for isn't materializing into anything that you personally want.
Yeah, so it's all being like drunk down the pub or spent on new toys and, and you're not getting anything yourself. So therefore you find yourself turning towards that kind of area. So, but there is positive stories out there of savers and spenders living together in harmony, but it is all about communication and it is all about, keeping your money separate. So, and we're just working on your relationship. With all things in relationships, money is just another area that you need to work together and basically talk through and make sure you're both in agreement.
That's very true.
And I think that is all for this week, Emma.
It is a bit deep on relationships, sir.
I know, definitely. So, well, I hope you all enjoyed listening. We'll see you soon.
We will indeed. And with that, we've completed today's episode. We hope you have enjoyed following along with us today and taking another step closer to a financially secure future.
If you've enjoyed today's podcast, you can head over to themoneycompass.co.uk where you can find out more information, hints and tips from today's episode.
If you'd like to get more involved, share your own experiences and learn from a friendly community on a similar journey to you, why not join us in our Facebook group, The Money Compass, where we will support you in navigating your way to financial success.
Thank you for listening and see you next time.